Colombia. What's good, guys? Thank you for having me here today. I'm going to apologize in advance. My talk is going to be in English. I was told to talk slower and everyone will laugh at my jokes, so I promise to do that as long as you do your end of the promise. Okay, so first of all, I want to thank my friends Freddie and Christian for inviting me here today. I've been watching with a lot of admiration Platzi conference grow year over year. I've been seeing such great things from the students that come out of PlatziCon, and I was like, Christian, I want to join in on the fun. I hate watching it on just Instagram. And so this year he's like, fine, we'll invite you. So here I am. All right, so my talk today is on overcoming the fear of getting punched in the face, a CEO's guide to building a profitable bootstrap startup. So that's right, a startup with no outside funding. Thank you, Freddie. And so you're here for one or two reasons. And I'd love a show of hands. You're here either because you are a current founder. Show of hands if you're a current founder. 2 hands from that guy. That's right. I love it. Okay, and then keep your hands up if you're a current founder. Now add to that, are you an aspiring entrepreneur? Someone who wants to become a founder? Put your hands up if any of you. Come on, guys, there must be more aspiring founders in the room. All right, okay, good, good. So you're here because ideally you want to learn techniques and ways that you can build a startup without relying on just fundraising, okay? And that's what I'm going to share with you today. The second reason you may be here is you're sadistic and you like getting punched in the face. Whatever floats your boat, but I'm hoping it's more of the latter. So a little bit about me. I'm the CEO and founder of Giveffect. I started Giveffect with my team about 6 years ago. We went through Y Combinator's 2015 batch, which is where I met Freddie and Christian. I'm a Forbes 30 Under 30 honoree, and I built a profitable bootstrap startup that does $12 million in processed revenue with no funding, no seed funding, no bank loan, no A round. Whenever I say no funding, people are like, but did you have this funding? But did you take money from this? Did you take money from him? Like, no outside funding. I'm also a passionate cat mom, and this is my Insta handle. If you'd like to ask questions or talk along the way, please feel free to follow me. So, one day I woke up in college and I said to myself, I want to become a boxer. I was confident I'd be a great one. And so the very next day I went down to the local boxing studio. I met this instructor who was a former Olympic boxer. And he said to me, Anisa, do you want to be a good boxer or do you want to be a great boxer? And I was like, yo, I'm talking Muhammad Ali style. I want to be a great boxer. So tell me what I got to do. What do I need to learn to be an amazing boxer? And I thought it was going to be everything about like, oh, Anisa, you have to eat like this diet and you have to, learn how to, I don't know, whatever the techniques were. Clearly, I didn't go very far in it. And he goes, no. Before you can master the techniques of becoming a great boxer, you have to learn one very important skill. You have to conquer your fear of getting punched in the face. Not getting punched in the face, but your fear of getting punched in the face. I thought that was weird. I never went back the next day. But in all seriousness, when I started my company 6 years ago, I was surprised that I would remember his advice and that it would echo more true today than ever before. You see, when we did Y Combinator, a week before demo day, a week before fundraising, me and my co-founders made an active, conscious decision that we were not going to fundraise at demo day. Sounds crazy, right? We made an active, conscious decision that we were not going to fundraise. We were not going to do an A round. We were not going to take seed funding. We were going to continue to bootstrap our startup. Everyone said we were crazy. Everyone said it was going to kill our business. But that's exactly what we did. At the time, we were doing 10,000 in MRR, 10,000 in monthly recurring revenue, with just the 3 of us in a house. And we said, if we take on outside investment now, we may be steered into the direction the investors want to take us too soon. Our market, the sector that we serve, is nonprofits. So we're a for-profit company serving nonprofits. And Silicon Valley doesn't really always get this space. And so we wanted to be able to have autonomy in the way we build our company. We didn't want to be at the hands of an investor's direction of the company. We wanted to build something that was truly meaningful and that we believed in. So at the time, we really believed that without fundraising, we would be able to continue to build this company. But to do so, we had to go down the hard path of sales, because that was going to be our investment channel. That was going to be our revenue. And you know, when you're a startup, especially a startup CEO, so any of you aspiring CEOs, you're going to relate to this, you know what that feels like? It feels like getting punched in the face. When you go out there trying to sell your startup and you're doing your first sales pitch and maybe you suck at it, but you believe in what you do. You're passionate about it. This is your life. This is your baby. So when someone sits there and tells you this sucks, or they tell you that first no, it really does feel psychologically like getting punched in the face. And I promise you, if you can overcome your fear of getting punched in the face, you too can build a profitable startup, because you too will be able to master the art of selling as a CEO for a startup company. Because this really does fall under the shoulders of the CEO. So today I'm going to share my 8-step playbook for how to build a profitable bootstrap startup. Before we get into it, 3 disclaimers. Number 1, we were a B2B SaaS company, so business to business. And if that's not you, then you need to know if all of this applies to you or not. I'm not here to say you should never fundraise. I'm not here to say fundraising is bad. I'm simply here to say that I want you to understand there's another path if you decide to do sales before fundraising and get to profitability. It only increases your valuation on paper. So if this applies to you, you have to decipher if it does, then this is a playbook. So, number 1, assemble a well-rounded founding team. Most people look at me and say, thanks, Captain Obvious. We all know the founding team is important. But not really, right? I meet so many entrepreneurs who sit and tell me, Anisa, we love what you're doing. We want to do it just like you. And, you know, we're going to go ahead and bootstrap this company. I'm like, cool. What's between your product today and your first sale? Like, what do you need from today to there? And they go, well, we need to go out and hire such and such skill set. So how are you going to do that without fundraising? Oh, I guess we're going to have to fundraise. I'm like, no. This is expensive. Hiring people is expensive. So what you need to make sure is that your founding team today has all the core competency you need in your sector to go to market. And if you don't, you should really consider bringing on, whether it's that engineer, whether it's that marketing guru. You need to go ahead and make sure you have that in your founding team. Otherwise, it's really difficult to do this bootstrap. This is what we look like. It was real sexy back then. That's my co-founder and my other co-founder. They're identical twins, so you're seeing them both really. We really, the 3 of us were able to take this company and continue to build it. The only reason we hired was when it was time to scale, meaning we needed more Anisas, we needed more Kevins, more Allens to do the job, not because we needed a skill set. And we were actually able to bootstrap it all the way to $60K in monthly recurring revenue before ever hiring a single person. But that's only because we had these skills in the founding team. Number 2, the fun parts. Go out and acquire customers. So you're going to have to do email blasts. You're going to obviously do phone calls. And you want to build trust. So add them on LinkedIn. Have a Gmail avatar. I want to say something about email blasts. This is what our email looked like. It looks really ugly, I know. But this email had higher than industry average open rate, higher than industry average click rate for us. I'm only sharing this with you to say, while you go ahead and set up your email blasts, it's good to look at best practices out there today, like how should you design your email, right? You're going to go online, you're going to look at best practices. But then make sure you A/B test, because this would be against best practice, this email format. But this is the email format that worked for us, that got click rate and open rate. So obviously you need to A/B test. Email is not the sale. Pick up the phone. You need to get on the phone and actually call your customers if you're trying to get bookings and sales. You should be doing 80 to 100 dials a day. I think you should always leave voicemail, and persistence pays off. Everyone thinks they know this about sales, that persistence pays off, but actually the stat shows over 40% of people in sales stop after the first attempt. They don't continue follow-up. So don't be one of those 40%. Persistence does pay off. Learn how to demo. Here it's important to understand one really critical thing. Your job in a demo is not to tell the client all the amazing features that you have, all the amazing skill sets in your product. No. Your job in a demo is to tell a story and to solve your customer's pain point. There was actually a Harvard study that came out that showed that when you talk about your product from the perspective of solving a customer's pain point, that it has the same effect on lighting up areas in the brain as it does when someone has a headache and you give them Advil. That's fascinating. It's literally solving pain. So don't worry about talking about all the features. You need to be talking about a solution-focused approach to your product. Tell a story. Okay, this is my most important point, and I may be running low on time, so we might have to skip a few. Have empathy. What does that mean? It doesn't mean say, oh, poor you, your life sucks without my product. No. And I advise you don't do that. What do we mean by empathy here? Well, let me tell you a story. I was in Atlanta. We opened a second office there to scale out to our next 50 employees. And in the Atlanta office a year and a half ago, one day after work, this is a real story. One day after work, I was coming home, and I went to the hotel to have a glass of wine. This guy came over to me, and he said to me, hey, listen, I have really good cocaine. And I was like, okay, that's great. Like, what do I look like? And he's like, I know it's that kind of night. I was like, what kind of night? And he's like, I got that good stuff. Come with me. I got a free sample for you as well. And I was like, no, sir, no. And he's like, I'm going to give you the best price. Just come with me. I'm like, no. And he's like, I don't think you're understanding. It's the best quality Coke you're going to get anywhere in Atlanta. I promise you, it's the best quality. And I was like, no, no. And in that moment, right, what's important to realize is never along the way did he stop and ask me why. Why is she saying no? He assumed I'm cheap. One, he thinks I do cocaine. Another, he thinks I'm cheap. I can't afford it. But it's a different story. He assumed I was price sensitive. How many founders, how many new CEOs starting sales do that? They hear their first no from a customer. Not in this line of work, obviously. But they hear their first no from a customer, and they're like, listen, I'll drop the price. But the customer never said that. Then the next thing is, they assume that, oh, it's features, it's quality, it's the product, it's... No. Ask your customer why. You're going to hear no, but have empathy. Put yourself in their shoes and genuinely ask them why they're saying no. That's the only way you're going to come up with a solution to why they should say yes. But so many people don't do this. So if you remember nothing else in my talk, I swear to God, if anyone tells you no and you don't ask why. At first, do things that don't scale. Abby Scott is the reason that we were able to get more customers. You need to make evangelists of your customers. So initially, we were doing things that don't scale. If you wanted a staircase in the product, we would build it for you. If you needed the volunteer checkout flow to look different, we were going to build it. You need to go after your first, third, fifth, 10th, and so on and so forth. Of course, there comes a point where you do things that scale. Like today, we can't build everything that every customer wants. But when you start off, it's important to do that. Version 1 always sucks, okay? And I say this and people are like, yeah, we know. And then so many people you meet will wait like 5 months before they actually ship their product. I know there's some of you in here. We all have been guilty of this. But it's still gonna suck in 5 months, guys. So the only thing is that now you're 5 months in and you lost time. Version 1 always sucks. So go out there, put it out there, get it live, get real customer feedback, and iterate fast. That's how you're gonna be able to make payroll for yourself, not by just having it in your head and not shipping, right? So version 1 always sucks. Pricing is really important. This is a real life pricing page of Giveffect. We started off at $9.99 a month, $99 a month, $199, $299, $499, and it's $299 today, the most common selling plan. I remember when we put it to $299, we laughed, the three of us, in our tiny living room in San Francisco. We were like, who's gonna pay this? They did. Thank God. Rule of threes. Your goal with a pricing page is not to overwhelm your customer and give them all the options. It is your fiduciary responsibility to make sure they buy. And to do so, the purpose of a pricing page is simply to guide my decision as a customer and to give me the illusion of choice. I want to feel like I'm choosing. That's important. Don't have one tier, have three. But don't have 7 tiers because now you're overwhelming me. Make it an easy choice. By the way, freemiums are your enemy. Please don't do that if you're a B2B SaaS. The last step here is simply negotiations and closing before we wrap up. This isn't some fancy story I'm going to tell you. It's just that I meet founders so often who are like, Anisa, I'm doing what you said. I'm doing all these calls, and I'm booking these demos, and we're doing the, really great, but we're not making progress after the demo to the close. We're not making progress. Well, let me tell you something. If you did not ask tier, budget, timeline, and their decision for payment, if you didn't actually do this and get them a contract and set up next steps, you weren't trying hard enough. It's not their job to come knocking at your door to buy the product, right? It's your job to ensure that they are moving forward with this sale. If they were wowed by your product, don't let a sloppy process kill the sale. So it's really important. I advise you to have this, especially the stuff on the left here, to have this on a sticky note. For my team today, each of my sales reps are responsible before the demo ever ends. They have to have this information. Like, the demo cannot end without getting this information. So, you want to know the tier, you want to know budget, you need to understand their timeline, and you have to actively ask these questions. It's not their job to tell you, it's your job to ask. And you have to create a sense of urgency. That's it for me today. If you are interested in more information on this, please feel free to contact me. One thing I do want to say as we close is simply that, I hope when you listen back to this talk, you're not thinking, hey, this is how we can become like an aggressive salesperson, or how sometimes it feels weird selling hard. I always think to myself, why does sales matter for Giveffect beyond the fact that we want to build a profitable company and make payroll? It matters because I believe in our product and what we do. Every single day a customer buys our product, a nonprofit is now serving their clients with better software. That means that a Habitat for Humanity is providing housing for someone who's low income and can't build a home for themselves. That means that an SPCA is providing shelter and adoption to an animal that was abused. That means that Big Brother Big Sisters is able to pair more adults with children who have been sexually abused and hurt. Our software helps power nonprofits to serve their communities in excellence. It's not a bank's bottom line that we're decreasing or some bar staff that we're helping reduce their overhead. We're doing work that truly matters. And so we're really proud of every single sale we make and every time a customer adopts Giveffect. And I hope that if you're going to go on this journey to be a founder, you too believe in your product in the same way. Sales matters, not just for profitability, because your product is truly making the world a better place. Thank you so much.